Welcome back to episode 5 of the Atlantic 10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dauster. I unfortunately have with me here Jeff Goodman.
Unfortunately.
No. I don't want you here. I don't want you here. Jeff Goodman, Stadium Insider. We are currently sitting in a Residence Inn in Austin, Texas, about 5 miles further away from where we need to be in Texas. We're here for the Gonzaga at Texas game. It is Wednesday night. We have an interview with Foster Loyer coming up. I actually called him Fletcher Loyer by accident because I was getting ready to ask him a question about his brother, and I called him the wrong name. And
how did he take to that?
He was like, he laughed, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me start this intro all over.
Did you tell him how much sleep you got last night, though?
No, I did not. Look, he's in Charleston.
In all fairness, you didn't get much sleep last night.
No, nobody did. We got on a plane. We got to sleep at 2:30 a.m. after the Champions Classic. Got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. this morning.
That's right.
And now we are here in Texas. Yep. Jet lagged, tired.
Playing though. Good games all around now. We finally got past that 1 week mark. And I feel like now it becomes fun because, all the MTs are coming up, but you've even got good games. Champions Classic, Gonzaga, Texas, and it just gets
St. Louis, Memphis. You mentioned the MTs. We're going to get to that in a little bit in this show. They're very important for Atlantic 10 teams. If you are a fan of any team in the Atlantic 10 and you see another Atlantic 10 team playing an NTE, root your ass off for them.
Right.
They're your team at this point. We're going to talk about why in a second. First and foremost, St. Louis beat Memphis, the biggest win of the year. Is that fair to say for an Atlantic 10 team? Yuri Collins, 22 points, 9 assists. I mean, that is just massive.
To date, the biggest game of the year. We got to see how Memphis pans out here. I mean, that's going to be the key. Now, if you're St. Louis, you are the biggest Memphis Tigers fan, the biggest Penny Hardaway fan on the planet, because you need Memphis to go to the NCAA tournament now. That'll help.
You need that to be a marquee win for you. They were up by double digits for most of the second half. They only ended up winning by 6. Margin of victory matters. What's more important is that you get a victory more than the fact that you only won by 6 as opposed to 13. But Yuri Collins, 22 and 9. Like, what does this mean for St. Louis? What does this mean for the league? And does it tell you anything more that you want to know? Or is it just too early to know anything about Memphis at this point?
I mean, listen, Javante Perkins had 2 points and they still scored 90. Right? I mean, that's pretty, like Travis Ford told us at A-10 Media Day. He was like, listen, I know we can score. The question is whether they can guard. They gave up 84. Not great. They got to get better, but they can outscore you. And that's kind of a team that, in a way,
90 on Memphis. Memphis is one of the best defensive teams.
And they have been for years.
College basketball, they put 90 on.
Yes, that's what I'm saying is like, Travis got to love this team, but he also understands that in order to go deep in the NCAA tournament, get past the first weekend, you got to be able to guard in March. So it's great right now that you can outscore people, but they've got to get better on the defensive end, and I think they will.
Yeah, I think that there is somewhat of a ceiling for them on that end, just because, I mean, look.
Some of their guys.
Yeah, let's call it what it is. If you are as good offensively as Gibson Jimerson, as Javante Perkins, as Javon Pickett is, and you are also elite defensively, you're probably not only playing at a higher level, it probably means you're playing professionally at some point, right? So I think that's just kind of, it is what it is.
This was a good win. This was a good win. Again, it could be a great win. Like right now, it's one of those wins that you just don't know what it's going to mean come NCAA selection committee.
Let's put it like this. If Memphis is a top 25 team in the net,
it's huge.
All of a sudden, that's a quad 1 win, right?
Yes.
If they are 45th in the net, and it's a quad 2 win at home, it doesn't have the same kind of pop. So you need them to be really, really good. And along those same lines, if this is a good win for St. Louis, it raises the computer numbers for them. It raises the profile for them. All of a sudden, if St. Louis is like a top 20 team consensus nationally, every time someone else plays them.
So far now, you look at St. Louis and you say, like, whoever plays them is getting a resume game. Right now,
opportunity.
Correct. That's what they've established themselves right now. And to be honest, and I know we're going to get to this with Dayton's loss.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis right now becomes the favorite, which, it was kind of 1A and 1B going into the season, right? It was with a healthy
for everybody
Dayton,
else, for people that know ball.
With a healthy Dayton, it's 1A and 1B. They're different teams, but again, it's still I want to see the kind of role allocation at St. Louis, and if they can guard. And come on, Dayton right now, they're without a key piece, and you know, to me, and their best guard, one of their best players. You know, Deron Holmes is probably the most talented player, but you know, right now they need their guy. They need him, and they haven't had him, and I don't know when they're going to get him.
And the good news is that UNLV does have a little bit of talent on that roster.
Yeah, a weird game to play, though. That's what I would say. It's a weird game to play because you're going to Vegas, but you never want to go to Vegas. And bring a bunch of kids to Vegas.
Turning around and heading right back out to Atlantis. Like you're going the wrong
And Vegas
direction.
is like a mid-tier Mountain West team right now that's kind of dangerous enough with a fairly new coach in Kevin Kruger. They got nothing to lose. And again, you're not whole. That's the other part.
The question that I would have is, what is the upside for playing that game? If we don't know if we don't know if they're going to be a top 75 team, maybe it would have made more sense to schedule someone a little bit easier to make sure you don't get that loss. On the other hand, if it ends up being a top 75 team, which is possible, we see 4, 5, 6 top 75 teams in the net from the Mountain West. That's not an uncommon thing. So if UNLV ends up being good enough, it's not like this will be a blemish as much as just a missed opportunity. Right.
It's still going to be it's not going to be looked at as a bad loss, I don't think, at the end of the day, but it's one of those where it's like, all right, if you're fighting to be a top 4 seed, you need to win these games. You need to win these games. These will be the ones that you look at and be like, all right, this costs you a chance to get put in, closer to home, where you have a little bit of an advantage in the NCAA tournament. And they just got to get Malachi Smith back, and they got to get him back, soon.
Do you have any insight on when he will be back?
I don't. I mean, Anthony's obviously pretty close to the chest in terms of like how he keeps everything, and he's not going to give a lot of information. But he's been out a while now. I mean, we've seen it. He's been out a while and dealing with this injury, and I think part of it is too, you don't want to rush somebody like this back, because most importantly, you got to kind of hold your own without him. And then if you do well enough in your league, it doesn't really matter. But if you bring him back too quickly and he's done for the year and not 100% for the rest of the year, you have no chance.
Yeah. The issue with this specific week that's coming up is they're heading to Atlantis, to the battle for Atlantis. They are one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams by my count that are going to be playing in these like major MTE events. Dayton's probably in the biggest one. They're in Atlantis.
Great event.
They get Wisconsin in the first round. They get Kansas.
Remember what happened last time? I remember. I remember. They do this on purpose.
Yeah. Do you think Dayton fans remember what happened?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Either Kansas or NC State. If they win, it'll probably be Kansas. And then they're going to get one of Tennessee, Butler, BYU, or USC.
Yeah, it's 3 tough games, and again, that's why maybe Anthony is taking the approach of like holding them out. But the other part is, do you want him going into this without having played a game yet this season?
Yeah, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because you're going to be playing 3 games in, I think it's 3 games in 4 days.
4 days. Right? So you got to be careful. You got to be careful here, and maybe he's not even ready. Maybe he doesn't play at all. And if he doesn't play at all, you can't come back from an event like this 0-3. Dayton obviously last year started out 4. And they were able to dig themselves out of that hole. You cannot do that again.
Well, you know why they dug themselves out of the hole? Because they went and they beat like 3 high major teams, including the future national champion in an event just like what event was it? Was it Orlando?
Maybe.
I can't
remember. I don't know.
It's just
I don't know. Unless I go to it, I can't remember where it was.
It's all the same sterile environment everywhere. St. Louis, we mentioned them earlier. They're playing in the Hall of Fame tip-off, Mohegan Sun. They get Maryland in the first round. Winner gets Miami or Providence. I guess they play one of my, depending on what happens, they'll play one of those teams either way. But again, that's another chance. This is you go 2-0 in this event. Maryland, I think, is probably borderline tournament. Miami and Providence, I think, are teams we would both agree probably should be tournament teams.
Borderline. I think you have 3 borderline tournament. They could be tournament teams. They might not be.
Gun to head, you say Maryland probably ends up on the bubble, and Miami and Providence probably end up in. That's at least the way that I look at it. And that's probably, I think that most would lean that way. If you are top 25 St. Louis,
you win both. And you got a chance here. I mean, how often, if you're an A-10 team, are you getting these teams on a neutral court? You know, the so-called power six, right? In college basketball, you're getting them right now on a neutral court. And like you said, you're a team that has a chance to be. I mean, I got them ranked top 20-ish right now, St. Louis in the top 20. So you got to win these games.
I'm going to roll through the rest of them really quick. Davidson is playing in the Charleston Classic.
Yep.
They are playing Charleston in the first round, which is
dangerous.
Is it an actual road game? Are they playing in Charleston's building? Or
they play in Charleston's building.
That's going to be a tough one. Charleston gave North Carolina all they could handle. In Chapel Hill. They just beat Richmond in overtime in their own building.
Matt McKillop, take your team to Halls. If you take them to Halls, I think you'll be all right the next day.
I told Foster he needs to get banana pudding down there. I don't know if they're allowed to. I don't know if that's something that's going to be allowed to.
Foster can use a few extra Lbs. He's thin, not like you.
So anyway, Charleston. I think you can make the argument they've been the most impressive team so far that's in that event. Penn State, South Carolina, Colorado State are all in there. South Carolina's whatever. Penn State, I'm not fully buying them yet, but they've looked. Javon Pickett's been really good. Colorado State doesn't have their point guard. VCU, by the time you listen to this, they'll already have played Arizona State. That is happening Wednesday night, about 2 hours after we are recording this. Depending on what happens in there, they could end up getting Michigan. Richmond is in the Empire Classic with Syracuse in the first round, and then St. John's or Temple. George Mason's playing in the Paradise Jam. They have Boston College, then Tarleton or Belmont, and Wyoming and Buffalo are the other two notable teams in that event. And then Loyola and UMass are actually both playing in the same event. Tulsa and Colorado, the teams they get in the first round respectively, with Texas A&M, Boise State, and a couple other whatever's in that league. Now,
which event's that one?
I did not write it down. I can't remember off the top of my head. Right. It's the Myrtle Beach one, whatever. I don't know the name of it. It's happening in Myrtle Beach. The reason that is so important is because these are the losses that Atlantic 10 teams have already taken this year. At Charleston, out South Dakota State, Texas State at home, at UNLV, at Hofstra, Towson, Quinnipiac. You got to start making up some ground for all of the teams in the conference, essentially because, and we talk about this a lot, and you're going to hear this be a constant theme on this pod. It is when you have those losses at the bottom of the resume that drag everything down. Part of the reason why we see so many Big 12 teams get in and Big 10 teams get in is there is no bottom.
The bottom is horrible.
Feeders.
So
it raises all of those computer numbers,
especially the Big 12. Big 12 has done a great job. So all those teams are, most of the time they're in the top 100, maybe even 75 at times. Right. The bottom of the A-10, and that's where like a team like Rhode Island. Right. I've seen Rhode Island and UMass in person already. Both are in rebuilding mode, but they got to get better. They got to get better. They got to win some of these games, frankly, that they should win. But it's hard. I mean, Archie Miller, I've seen
new teams, new coaches, and I know they've turned some of it over, but it's not like you have all of the guys in there that you brought in, that you wanted.
No, and even the guys you brought in, Arch brings in, Braylon Freeman from GW, and he's already suspended him a game. He suspended him a game, so he's trying to get the culture right.
Yes,
and not take shortcuts.
And it's tough when you are in your first year hitting the portal, where you're saying, "Look, I just got to get somebody in here. I just get somebody in the spot.
I got to get some talent."
You can't be choosy. You can't be picky. You have to say, all right, I'll take a shot on it.
Right.
And it might not work out. And I don't know if that was going to end up working out, but the Atlantic 10 needs to make up ground. They're playing from behind a little bit. Right. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because I think that they are kind of,
there's a lot of teams who have lost games right now.
Yeah.
I mean, look out in the out West, the Pac-12 tied the SWAC.
And it's also
in its league series.
We have to go into this with the expectation that, like, the bottom of the A-10, you don't have, it's not like, the bottom of the Big 12 is like West Virginia, right?
Right.
The bottom of the A-10 is not West Virginia, and it's got to get better. You just have to see incremental improvements.
It's going to take time.
You got to get some wins.
Yeah, it's going to take time. It's St. Bonaventure we talked about. You knew they were going to come out of the gate slow because Mark Schmidt brought back nothing.
It's my favorite stat in college basketball.
It's incredible. It's still the 4 points, 2 rebounds.
He returned 4 points, 2 rebounds, not average, total, off of last season's team.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into this interview. Do you have a player of the week? Is it anybody other than Yuri Collins? Like,
it's got to be Yuri Collins.
Right?
It's got to be Yuri Collins. He's been that good. I mean, he is that good and so underrated. We got to get him on the pod here soon.
We will.
He deserves it.
He'll be coming on.
He's awesome. I mean, he might be the most underrated player nationally in the country.
22 points, 9 assists, going up against a kid in Kendrick Davis that a lot of people said is the best point guard in all of college basketball. That's what Randolph Childress said.
Oh no, he did.
Yeah, and our boy Yuri Collins just gave him 22 and 9. So Randolph Childress, if you're listening to this, just so you know, Yuri Collins, you know what he's got in him? That dog, Goodman. Yeah. He's got that dog in him. All right. So we'll be back another episode next week. We're not exactly sure the timing of when we're gonna drop it. We got to figure that out. Normally we do these on Thursdays. Next Thursday, obviously, is Thanksgiving.
I'm not talking to you on Thanksgiving.
So it may be
I'll actually be in Portland, Oregon.
Well, it may be a little bit earlier that the pod comes. We'll keep you informed. But until then, enjoy the interview with Foster Loyer, and we'll see you guys again next week. And now let me welcome on to the A-10 Insider Podcast, Davidson star Foster Loyer. What's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So how is it's early in the season. You guys are sitting here at 3-0. How has it gone so far? Do you feel like you're having the amount of success that you thought heading into the season?
Yeah, I think going into this year, we know we have a new team. We have a lot of new guys. We have some important guys that are getting a lot of minutes as freshmen or transfers that we've kind of been working in to fit in our system and just get used to playing together. I've liked where we're at so far. Being 3-0 right now, you'll take a win kind of however you can get it. I think we've had some things that we definitely need to shore up and work on. But we'd much rather have to make those adjustments with a win instead of a loss.
So you lost some pieces in the offseason. Some veterans transfer left the program, graduated. Has it been the adjustment of becoming kind of like the face there, the veteran player? I know that you were an upperclassman last season, but it was one of your first years in the program. Have you felt a different kind of responsibility in that locker room?
Yeah, I think last year, although I was a captain and stuff, there was guys that had been in the program for 3-4 years. We had a lot of upperclassmen that were playing key roles and stuff within the team. I wouldn't necessarily say my role has changed. I think naturally I put myself in a position to lead guys and try to get the best out of them each and every day at practice and every game and things like that. But I think going into this year, I knew I would be the focal point of a few more teams, defensive schemes and things like that. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment and just really working with so many of our new and young guys just to get them up to speed and be ready to go for this year.
Well, if you're adjusting to being the focus of defensive schemes, I think it's going pretty well. You're averaging 28 points, 6 boards, and 5.7 assists this season. I want to ask you this. So you had 38 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, double overtime win over Wright State. One of the best performances we've seen this season. Are you upset you didn't get that last assist? Have you asked some teammates this an open shot? Like, come on, man, you got to get that for me?
No. See, I will say I was more mad at one of our guys on the bench for not telling me I needed one more. I was joking with them a little bit when they told me the stat line after the game. I would have had no clue during the game how many points or rebounds or anything like that. We're just going out there and trying to do anything that we can to win the game. And in those 2 overtimes, I shot quite a few shots, and thankfully a few of them went in. But I might have called a different play to maybe get myself an assist if I would have known so. But no, we were just joking around about that.
So I know Dane Fife, the former assistant at Michigan State, pretty well. And he used to always rave about you and say that, look, we got a kid that could end up being a star here at Michigan State for us. And obviously it didn't work out there, right? But now that you're at Davidson, it feels like this is kind of like a better fit for maybe your skill set, for maybe your ability. So how hard was that adjustment to starting over and finding a new program?
Yeah, it was a challenge. My 3 years at Michigan State, was a great experience. I got to play and guard the likes of, a guy like Cassius Winston, who's a All-American point guard every single day at practice. We went to the Final Four my freshman year. So I look at, those 3 years as really, preparing me and getting me better each and every day. Even though it didn't work out at Michigan State, I think that did such a good job of just teaching me so many things about, the mindset and what it takes to go out there and be that guard. And taking that to Davidson, I think one of the hardest things for me was just, getting used to a whole new coaching style, whole new system of players and stuff like that. not so much the game of basketball. I think that comes pretty naturally, and I was able to just kind of gel with the guys from the minute I stepped on campus. But I think it's been a great opportunity, and I think we're just going to keep trying to make the most of it.
So obviously your brother, who the first time I tried to record the intro for this podcast, I actually called you your brother's name. He's now at Purdue, which is in the Big Ten. What kind of advice did you give him as he was getting ready to go to school? Did you tell him what you're going to expect in that conference? Maybe give him some scouting reports that you still remember? How did you help him at all? Did you even have that conversation with him?
Yeah, I think that was a pretty important thing for me. Is just to help him go into I think my dad did such a good job of helping prepare me for that college transition. And I thought that as someone that had been there and gone through everything, I think the biggest thing for me was just getting him to know that he's got to go in there and be himself. I think that's something that I struggled with in my time at Michigan State, was just going there and playing my game and not letting myself take myself out of my own game, if that makes sense. In the fact that I can score the ball, I can do this, I can do that, but I need to go in there and be myself each and every day. And I think that's something that he's done well so far. He got 12 threes up the other night as a freshman in the Big Ten. That doesn't happen very often, but he can score the basketball, he can shoot the basketball. He's not a selfish player. He always makes that extra pass and things like that. So I've just been proud of the way he's went out there and been himself and just went out there with all the confidence in the world.
Are you able to watch them? Did you watch them play Marquette the other night?
Yep, I just watched about every second of that. I had it on my phone when we were on the bus down here to Charleston, and then I caught the last probably 6 or 7 minutes on the TV. So it's been awesome to watch. I will say I get a lot more nervous watching his games than I do for mine. But it's been an awesome experience just as a big brother.
Why do you think that is? Is just you don't have control over it? You just want them to win so bad? Do you now understand why fans kind of get stressed out when they're watching games?
No, yeah, I've kind of always felt that. Watching my dad's team that he's been coaching, things like that, you're nervous about those games. Now watching my little brother, it's I don't know quite what it is. I had to blow him some smoke last night. He missed a couple free throws. That's something that we don't really do in the Loyer household. So I had to blow him some smoke. But no, I've just been so proud.
Starting it a little bit bigger, you got to bring him down a peg or two, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so be honest with me on this one. You guys play 1-on-1 to 15, ones and twos. Who's winning?
I'm never going to give him that much credit. I'll take myself 10 times out of 10, and he's gonna have to prove it to me before I'll succeed in that one.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier about how it was hard for you at Michigan State to kind of always be yourself as a player. Do you feel like you've had more of an opportunity to do that now that you're at Davidson?
I would say yeah. I would say a lot of that is just the mentality that you approach things with. I think more of that comes from myself than anything. I knew going into even my time at Davidson, we had a lot of great players last year. We had guys like Lee and Mike Jones, and our player of the year, Luka Brajkovic, that could really score the ball, that really had talent. But I just knew that I had to go out there and be myself. I had to go out there and look to score the ball. I had to go out there and always make that extra pass, always know what guys get involved at the right times. And that's something that I've always prided myself on. And I think I just went into it from game one, just with the mindset of going out there and playing freely and just taking what the defense gives you and letting what happens happen.
So this offseason, the change with this Davidson program was not just the players on the roster, right? Obviously, there was a coaching change. We lost legend and Bob McKillop. His son takes over. I want to know what's the biggest difference do you see that you see in the two of them as maybe coaching styles, maybe personality traits? Has there been a different feel to the program with the younger McKillop there?
I think they have a lot of similarities. Obviously, Matt's grown up, under and coach under his dad for quite some time now. So I think a lot of the things in the program are the same and are going to stay the same. We still have our sayings on the walls and our kind of foundation of TCC that we're going to approach each and every day with. Those things I don't think they'll never go anywhere because that's what built this program to be successful around. I'd say Matt's like he tries to be a little bit more positive, especially with the young guys, and kind of just be that positive voice in the back of their head, encouraging them and stuff like that. Where I think Coach Bob McKillop might have snapped a little bit quicker than Coach Matt. So, but no, I think generally a lot of it's been the same. I think they both expect you to play with a lot of confidence. They want you to have freedom. They want you to go out there and make the right plays and play freely, and that's what I've enjoyed about playing for both of them so much so far.
How much is Bob McKillop still around? Is he coming to the games? Is he in the stands? Is he now that fan that's screaming at you, "You got to get back on defense, crash the glass"?
Amazingly, no. I think it's been probably pretty tough on him, but I think he's done an unbelievable job of kind of giving Coach Matt that distance and letting him really take the reins. He did travel with us on our trip over to Italy and Europe this summer. But he was more of a tour guide than a best. Yeah, yeah, I would never pass that one down. But no, he's been around and been there for the guys to talk to and things like that. But as far as basketball goes, he's really taking that step back and let Matt take over, and I think that's been good for both sides.
I know you probably get asked about this all the time, but like Steph Curry obviously is the guy you think of when you think of Davidson basketball for obvious reasons. Do you hear from him at all? If you have an off night shooting, he's like, "Hey, you got to do this." Is he around the program? How much do you guys see and interact with him?
Yeah. So actually, we went out to San Francisco last year when we played them, and got to go to one of the Warriors games the night before, which was super cool. We have guys on staff that were on his teams back in the day. And then this year he came back for graduation, so we got to see and be around him quite a bit. I was kind of his rebounder slash, phony defender in his workout, which was super cool. Our whole team got to watch him work out and things like that, which is just fascinating to watch from the aspect of his work ethic and things like that. Not only his ability to shoot the ball, that's pretty cool too. But yeah, he was around this summer with his graduation and things like that. So all of our guys got the chance to meet him, and he's not shooting me a text, blowing me up for an off shooting night here and there. But I know he's following our games for sure.
He's got a little bit going on over there in San Francisco. How much when you made the decision to transfer there? How much of an impact did that have on your decision? But for my generation, when we look at Davidson, like that's what I think about. I think about Steph putting 40 on Georgetown in the second round of the NCAA tournament, right? I think about watching him go off for 35 points, and I think he averaged 35, beating Gonzaga. That's what I think about when I think of Davidson basketball. Does that register for you?
Yeah, I absolutely. I think anybody would be kind of wrong to not think of that when they think of Davidson basketball. Obviously, the places that he was able to kind of take this program to, and then our ability to keep this program at the level that he kind of got it up to has been awesome. I think when Coach McKillop was recruiting me and stuff, he recruited me a little bit out of high school, but then we got a lot closer and stuff when I was kind of in the transfer portal and that kind of ordeal. But that's something that they show you. They show you the amount of freedom that they let guys like Steph have, and a lot of the other great players that have come through, and that's something that attracts you, just from the ability to being able to go there and play your game.
How healthy are you right now? I've heard that you are still kind of dealing with some foot stuff. Was it the plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, I'm 100% good right now. Last year with about it would be 5 games left in the regular season, I completely tore my plantar fascia on my right foot. So I kind of I wasn't gonna have surgery and have that be the end of my year. That never really crossed my mind. So I ended up having a couple injections in it. Did some rehab quite extensively with our trainers here. and then was just going to do everything possible to get back out there on the floor. I came back for our last game against Dayton, and then played kind of off and on in the A-10 tournament, just trying to save, whatever I had left for the NCAA tournament there in March.
And no like residual effects. I never tore it, but I dealt with some of the fasciitis before. And it's like when you wake up in the morning, you're taking that first step. You can't really put your heel on the ground. I don't think people that have never dealt with it really understand. Like it sucks, right?
Yeah, that was one of the sharpest pains that I've ever had, kind of in my time. Like you said, you wake up, you can't really you got to let your feet sit on the ground for a couple minutes before you're even standing up to go use the bathroom or whatever it may be. But then when I actually tore it, it wasn't so much of the pain as it was like putting your foot down on the ground. It was just, you couldn't do anything. As far as like couldn't go up on your tippy toes. You had to kind of relearn how to walk and stuff like that. But as far as going into this year, it doesn't bother me at all. I was able to give it enough time to kind of heal on its own and thankfully not have to have surgery on it. So now I just have a big callus of whatever's under my foot down there instead of a tendon, but it's been working great.
So this is the last thing I got for you. When we did our Atlantic 10 Media Day show, your coach, Matt McKillop, came on the show and told a story about how when he was in practice one time and he had someone come in and visit, and he was like, I want you to try to figure out who's the guy that averaged 16 points a game for us last year. Just look at all those guys over there and try to figure out which one it was. And they just kind of went down the list of all the players, and you were the last person that they guessed. Does that happen to you a lot? Like when you walk into gyms, have you ever had someone be like, hey man, look, fans can't come in yet. You got to wait until you can show your ticket an hour before the game starts?
I think it's been a joke kind of running within myself and my teammates throughout my whole career. The joke we've always kind of used is, I've never won a layup line. That dates back to whatever grade you want to go back to. Showing up AAU on a Saturday morning, they're not thinking much when they look at the other end of half court. But I think at every stage of my career, I've went out there and kind of proven myself to be a competitor and go out there and ultimately just to win games. I think no matter what else you throw out there, that's all I really care about. So that's definitely something we've always joked about. I could definitely pass as a manager just as well as I could a player, but when the jump ball goes up, I think things go a little bit differently.
All right, so I lied. I actually do have one more for you. Listeners of this podcast know that this is something that tends to happen when I interview people. We are recording this Wednesday night before the Charleston Classic starts. This will be dropping on Thursday, so the people listening to this will have already known what happens in your opener against Charleston. So I just kind of want to ask you, big picture, what are you hoping to learn from your team over the course of the next 4 days? Because you're going to have 3 tough games over the course of the next 4 days.
I think a big thing for us, and I've played in these preseason tournaments or pre-conference season tournaments each and every year. I think a big thing is just the only thing that matters right now is the first game. Charleston, we got Charleston tomorrow night, and they're playing great basketball. They went toe to toe with UNC for most of that game and really posed a lot of threats that we're gonna have to be prepared for. So we're just gonna take it one game at a time. I think despite what anyone wants to say, our team's going into each and every game with the mindset of we got to go out there and play well, and we expect to win the game. So we're gonna go out there tomorrow. We're gonna be ready for whatever they want to throw at us, and we're gonna do our best to go get a win, and then start preparing for the next one.
Well, Foster, listen, man, best of luck to you this weekend. Congratulations on the success that you've had this season, and I look forward to catching up with you pretty soon down the road.
Awesome. Thank you, man.